The slave market of Valdris reeked of despair and rotting fish. Lyra kept her unseeing eyes downcast, her white cane tapping against the cobblestones as she navigated through the jeering crowd. Beside her, her younger brother Tam's small hand trembled in hers. "Stay close," she murmured, though she couldn't see the dangers around them. She could smell them, taste the violence thick in the air like smoke before a storm. "They're bringing out the special prisoner," Tam whispered, his voice tight with fear. "Lyra, he's massive and bleeding. They've got him in chains that look like they weigh more than I do." The crowd's roar intensified, drowning out the harbor bells. Lyra's heightened senses, sharpened by years of blindness, caught something else beneath the stench of unwashed bodies and old blood. Something wild and ancient, like mountain snow and forbidden forests. A scent that made her heart race inexplicably. "Behold!" The slave master Garrett's voice boomed across the square. "A trophy from the Northern Territories. They say he's cursed. Killed a dozen royal guards with his bare hands before they brought him down with poisoned arrows. The beast refused to kneel even with wolfsbane in his veins." The crowd hissed and spat. Someone threw something that splattered wetly against wood. The sound was followed by a low growl that seemed to vibrate through the very air. "The royal family offers him for public humiliation before his execution at dawn," Garrett continued, his voice dripping with satisfaction. "But tradition demands we offer him for sale first. 100 gold sovereigns for the northern wolf himself." Cruel laughter rippled through the square. No one carried such wealth to a slave market. "50 then." Garrett's voice turned mocking. "Surely someone wants to own the infamous northern wolf. Think of the status, the power of having the Alpha King himself as your slave." Lyra's breath caught. The northern wolf. Even in her isolated life, she'd heard whispers of him. A warrior who'd refused to kneel to the southern kingdom, who'd fought against the empire's expansion into the sacred forests. Some said he could transform into a beast, larger than a horse. 25 gold, Garrett called out, frustration creeping into his tone. "Come now, don't let pride stop you from a bargain." "Let him rot," someone shouted. "Death's too good for northern scum." "Feed him to the dogs." Tam's grip tightened painfully. "Lyra, his eyes. They're looking right at us. Through everyone, past everyone. How can he see us from up there? And they're glowing gold in the torchlight." Something pulled at Lyra's chest, an invisible thread drawing taut. The scent grew stronger, mixed with copper. Blood. Too much blood. She could hear his labored breathing now, the way it rattled in his chest. 10 gold, final offer," Garrett snarled. "Or he goes to the execution block now. I'm sure the crowds would love to see the mighty Alpha King lose his head before sunrise." Lyra's fingers found the small leather pouch at her waist. Everything they had. Every copper saved over 3 years for Tam's apprenticeship, for their survival through the harsh mountain winter. 10 gold pieces, no more. Their entire future in worn leather. "Don't even think it," Tam hissed, understanding her too well. "Lyra, we need that money. Winter's coming and—" But that pull in her chest had become an ache, as if something essential was crying out to her, as if her very soul recognized something in this stranger. "I'll take him." Her voice cut through the mob's bloodlust like a blade through silk. The square fell silent except for the prisoner's chains rattling as he straightened. "The blind girl?" Someone laughed. "She can't even see what she's buying." "Probably thinks she's getting a dog." Lyra made her way forward, her cane finding the platform's edge. She held up her pouch, the coins clinking inside. 10 gold, as you said. The law is the law." Garrett descended from the platform, his breath reeking of sour wine too close to her face. "You realize what you're purchasing, blind girl? This isn't some tame pet. He's—" "A person," Lyra interrupted, her chin lifting. "And the law's clear." You offered? I accepted. A sound cut through Garrett's response. Low, rumbling, inhuman. A growl that seemed to rise from the earth itself. The crowd stumbled backward. Seems he doesn't like your tone, Lyra said quietly. My gold? Master Garrett? Garrett snatched the pouch from her hand with enough force to hurt. Chains included in the price. Try not to die before you leave the square. Iron clanked as the prisoner moved. Then warmth, so close she could feel it radiating against her skin. That wild scent enveloped her completely. Can you walk? She asked softly. The response was immediate, shocking. A voice like distant thunder speaking words in the old tongue she shouldn't understand, but somehow did. You shouldn't have done this, little moon. Stay away from me. I am death itself. Lyra's cottage sat at the very edge of Valdris, where the city's stone walls gave way to wild grassland that whispered secrets in the wind. She could hear Tam's rapid breathing as they struggled to support the prisoner's massive weight between them. Every few steps he stumbled, and that concerning scent of blood grew stronger, mixed now with something else, poison seeping through his pores. Almost there, she promised, though she wasn't sure if she was reassuring the prisoner or herself. The man was burning with fever, his skin slick with sweat despite the cool evening air. They'd attracted followers from the market. She could hear at least a dozen footsteps, whispers carrying on the wind. Witch, someone muttered. Only a witch would buy such a creature. But none dared approach. Perhaps because of the occasional growl that rumbled from the man's chest whenever someone came too close, a sound that spoke of barely leashed violence. The door, she told Tam urgently. Quickly, before the neighbors come to investigate. Inside, the familiar sense of herbs and beeswax candles grounded her. She knew every inch of this space, every creaking floorboard, every draft that whispered through the old walls. This was her sanctuary, the only place she'd felt safe since their parents died in the fire that had also taken her sight. And now she'd brought danger itself through her door. Help me get him to the floor by the hearth, she instructed, already moving by memory to clear a space. The prisoner, she still didn't know his name, collapsed onto the worn rug with a sound that might have been relief or pain. His breathing was getting worse, each inhale a struggle. Up close, without the crowd's noise, she could hear his heart, too fast, irregular, fighting against something. Tam, bring my healing supplies, the box under my bed, and the special herbs from the hidden compartment, the ones grandmother left me. Lyra, you can't. Those are for emergencies. This is an emergency? Now, Tam. As her brother's footsteps retreated upstairs, she knelt beside the stranger. Her hands found his shoulder, felt the torn fabric sticky with blood. The wounds were deep, too deep. How was he even conscious? I need to remove your shirt to treat the wounds. Don't. His voice was hoarse but commanding, carrying an authority that made her pause. Stay away from me. I warned you once. You're bleeding to death on my floor, she said practically, though her hands trembled. So no, I won't stay away. You don't understand what I... He broke off with a sharp intake of breath as her fingers found the edge of a wound. Little moon, you must listen. When the moon rises fully, I won't be able to control what happens. Poisoned arrows, Garrett said. She felt the swollen flesh, the wrong kind of heat radiating from it. The skin around the wounds was hard, crystallizing almost. This isn't normal poison. It's wolfsbane extract, modified with southern alchemy. His words came through gritted teeth. It's designed to kill my kind slowly, painfully, to make us suffer as we die. Your kind? You bought a monster, little moon. Did they not tell you what I am? His hand suddenly caught hers, his grip fever-weak but desperate. I'm a shapeshifter. A wolf who walks as a man, the very creature mothers use to frighten children into obedience. Lyra's hands stilled, but not from fear. You're a shapeshifter, she repeated slowly. The Northern Wolf isn't just a title. And you're an Omega who can't see the danger right in front of her. Stay away from me before it's too late. Before I... His voice cracked with pain. Before I do something unforgivable. No, Lyra said firmly, resuming her work. What's your name? I won't have you die nameless in my home. Silence stretched between them, broken only by his labored breathing. Then, so quietly she almost missed it. Kyle. Cale Draven. Her breath caught, the name hitting her like a physical blow. Draven, as in, the Alpha King of the Northern Territories. Yes. His bitter laugh turned into a cough, though I doubt I'll hold that title much longer. Lyra sat back on her heels, mind reeling. She'd just spent their last gold to buy the Alpha King himself. The Empire's greatest enemy. The man whose name was used to curse and to threaten. The wolf who'd united the northern packs for the first time in centuries. You're supposed to be dead, she whispered. They announced your execution weeks ago. There were celebrations in the square. A convenient lie. They wanted to break my people's spirits before displaying my actual death. Tomorrow's execution was to be the grand finale. He shifted, groaning. Though it seems I'll die here instead. Perhaps that's kinder. Tam returned with the supplies, gasping when he saw the extent of the wounds revealed in the firelight. Lyra, there's so much blood. And his skin, it's turning gray around the wounds. I know. Tam, I need you to go to Mrs. Chen at the apothecary. Tell her I need silverleaf and moonflower. Tell her it's for the stranger's fever. She'll understand the real meaning. But those are restricted herbs. Mrs. Chen was grandmother's friend. She knows what we are, what grandmother was. She'll help. Go now. Run. Alone again with Kyle, she worked by touch and instinct, crushing herbs between her palms, mixing poultices by smell and texture. Her grandmother had taught her the old ways before she died, remedies that worked when nothing else would. Knowledge passed down through generations of women who had to hide their gifts. The wolfsbane had spread through his blood like ice. She could feel it in the way his skin grew colder despite the fever. Hear it in the way his heart struggled more with each beat. Why? Kale asked suddenly, his voice barely above a whisper. Why save me? You don't know me. I'm your enemy. I don't know, Lyra admitted, carefully applying the poultice to the worst wound. Something pulled me to you. Like recognizing something I'd lost without knowing I'd lost it. He made a sound that might have been bitter laughter. The mate bond. Even poisoned, even dying, my wolf recognized you. His hand caught hers suddenly, his grip desperate. Which is why you must run. Leave me here and run. When they realize what you've done, when they know you have me, and if my wolf claims you, then I'll deal with it. You don't understand. I'm not just cursed with shifting. There's something else. Something worse. My bloodline carries the Fenris curse. When the moon rises fully, especially during a blood moon, I don't just become a wolf. I become something else. A monster that knows no friend from foe. His body convulsed suddenly, violently. Lyra smelled the change before she heard it. Bones cracking, reforming. The scent of wild forest grew overwhelming. Fur sprouted beneath her hands where skin had been. Kale! But the man was gone. In his place, her hands found coarse fur, a massive form that took up half her small main room. A wolf, but larger than any natural wolf should be. She could feel the power in the muscle beneath the fur, the barely contained wildness. The wolf's breathing was even more labored than the man's had been. A wet nose touched her hand, and she heard a whine that sounded almost apologetic. It's all right, she whispered, instinctively stroking the great head that now rested in her lap. I'm not afraid. The wolf made another sound, surprised perhaps. Then those massive jaws opened, and before Lyra could react, teeth sank into her shoulder. Pain exploded through her, not just physical, but something deeper, primal. Fire raced through her veins, but with the pain came something else, something impossible. For the first time in 5 years, since the fever that had taken her sight, Lyra could perceive something beyond darkness. Not true sight, but golden threads of light connecting everything, pulsing with life. And brightest of all, a silver cord stretching between her heart and the wolf's. Then darkness claimed her, Kale's anguished howl the last thing she heard. Consciousness returned slowly, like swimming up from deep water. With it came the oddest sensation. Lyra couldn't see, not the way sighted people did, but somehow she could perceive shapes outlined in soft golden light that flickered like candle flame. The cottage walls, the furniture, Tam asleep in the chair by the door, and most brilliantly, the man sitting on the floor beside where she lay. You're awake. Kale's voice was rough with exhaustion and guilt. I was afraid I'd killed you. She tried to sit up, gasping at the sharp pain in her shoulder. The movement made the golden sight flicker and fade. What did you do to me? I marked you. The words sounded torn from him. My wolf. It recognized you as our mate and acted on instinct. I tried to stop it, tried to fight the urge, but the wolfsbane, the weakness, the moon. I lost control. He moved closer, and the golden sight flickered back for a moment, showing her the anguish on his face. I'm so sorry. I told you to stay away from me. I tried to warn you. Lyra's hand flew to her shoulder, feeling raised marks through her torn dress. The skin was hot to the touch, tender but already healing, too quickly for a normal wound. Marked? What does that mean exactly? It's how my kind claims their mates. A bite that creates a bond between souls, linking two lives forever. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. But you're human, and an omega besides. The mark should have killed you instantly. The fact that you survived means... Means what? That you're not fully human. There's dormant shifter blood in your lineage, probably generations back. My mark is awakening it. He stood abruptly, pacing. She could track his movement by sound and that strange golden sense. This is my fault. I should have died in that square rather than let you buy me. I should have maintained better control. Don't say that. Lyra! Tam's voice interrupted as he jerked awake. You're conscious. You've been out for 2 days. I thought... He wouldn't let me near you, just kept growling whenever I tried to check on you. 2 days? Lyra struggled to process this. But the herbs... Mrs. Chen? She came herself, Tam explained quickly. Brought everything and more. She seemed to know exactly what had happened when she saw the mark on your shoulder. She said grandmother would have understood that it was destiny. Mrs. Chen knows about shapeshifters? Her grandmother was from the north, Kale said quietly. She recognized the mate mark, knew what it meant. She's one of the few in the south who remember the old truces, before the Empire declared us enemies. He saved you, Tam added, and there was something like awe in his voice. When you collapsed, when you stopped breathing, he did something. Breathed light into you. I saw it, Lyra. Actual light, silver like moonlight, flowing from him into you. The mate bond, Kale explained reluctantly. I shared my life force with you. It's the only reason you survived the initial marking, but it won't be enough if... Heavy footsteps on the path outside cut him off. Many footsteps. Military precision. Soldiers, Kyle growled, moving toward the door. At least a dozen, and... He inhaled sharply. Garrett's with them. Before anyone could respond, the door exploded inward. Soldiers flooded in, weapons drawn. Behind them, Garrett entered with a satisfied smirk. Well, well. Still alive? Blind girl? I'm impressed. His gaze moved to Kale, who stood protectively in front of Lyra. And the northern wolf, healed and whole. How interesting. You have no authority here, Lyra said, trying to stand despite her weakness. He was legally purchased. Oh, but I do have authority. Garrett pulled out an official seal. The Emperor himself wants to know how a blind Omega tamed the untamable Alpha King, and when I smelled the mark on you, he laughed coldly. Do you know what you've done, girl? You've let this animal claim you. Don't call her that. Kale's voice was barely human, more growl than words. Animal? But that's what you are. Garrett circled them slowly. Though I'm something far more interesting. You see, blind girl, I'm not just a slave master. I'm a hunter, blessed by the Empire with the ability to track and kill your kind. He moved faster than any human should, but Kale was ready. They collided with tremendous force, shaking the cottage walls. Lyra's golden sight flickered to life, showing her the battle, Kale's silver light clashing against dark threads that coiled around Garrett like smoke. Kale! She cried out as Garrett pulled a blade coated in green liquid. The blade! It's poisoned! But her warning came too late. The blade found its mark slicing across Kale's ribs. He staggered, and Garrett pressed his advantage. No! Something erupted from Lyra, not the golden sight, but pure, brilliant white light that filled the cottage like a miniature sun. For one perfect moment, she could truly see everything. Garrett's shocked expression, the soldiers shielding their eyes, Tam's awestruck face, and Kale looking at her like she was divinity itself. Impossible, Garrett gasped, stumbling backward. You're the moon-touched, the prophesied Omega who can bring peace between human and wolf, who can end the ancient war. Kale's claws found his throat before he could finish. The slave master crumpled, dark blood pooling on the cottage floor. The remaining soldiers fled in terror, screaming about the moon-touched, about impossible light from a blind Omega. As quickly as it came, the light faded, leaving Lyra in darkness once more. But she felt fundamentally different, charged with power she didn't understand, connected to something vast and ancient. We have to leave, Kale said urgently, pressing a cloth to his new wound. Now they know what you are. Every hunter in the Empire will come for you. What am I? Lyra asked, trembling from exhaustion. What is the moon-touched? Legend speaks of an Omega born once in 1,000 years, Kale explained quickly as they gathered supplies. One who can bridge the gap between human and shifter, who can bring peace to both species. The prophecy says the moon-touched will unite the packs and end the persecution. But most thought it was just a story. And now? Now the Empire knows the story is real, and they'll either try to use you or kill you. His hand cupped her face gently. My mate, marked by fate itself. The bond wasn't random. My wolf recognized what you were before either of us understood. You still want me to stay away? Never again. His forehead pressed against hers. I was a fool to fight destiny. We leave for the Northern Territories tonight. But first, we free my pack. The border fortress of Ironhold loomed against the storm-darkened sky like a wound in the world. Lyra crouched beside Kale in the undergrowth, rain plastering her hair to her face and masking their scent from the guard dogs. They'd been traveling for 3 days, moving only at night, and her new abilities were growing stronger and more unstable. Tam huddled beside them, having insisted on coming despite their protests to keep him safe. 20 guards on the walls, Kale murmured. More inside. The rain helps. It'll muffle sound and scent. Your pack? She asked, the golden sight flickering in and out like lightning flashes, showing her glimpses of the fortress. 6 of them, my beta Rena, and 5 of my strongest warriors, Marsh, Eric, Senna, Tom, and Alara. They were taken to ensure my cooperation. His voice hardened with rage. The Empire thought watching them suffer would break me. How do we get in? Tam asked quietly. Lyra pressed her palm to the muddy ground, and immediately she felt it. Veins of water running beneath the fortress. There, she said with certainty that surprised her. 50 paces west, an old drainage tunnel where the underground stream exits. Kyle turned to her sharply. How could you possibly know that? Since your mark. Since the light. I feel things differently. She could sense his skepticism and added, Trust me. Please. They found it exactly where she'd sensed. Rusted iron bars over a tunnel barely wide enough for a person to crawl through. The water was icy, ankle deep, and smelled of centuries of decay. I'll go first, Kale began. No. Lyra was already lowering herself into the water. You're what they expect. I'm just a blind Omega. If we're discovered, I can play helpless. You can't. Lyra, this is too dangerous. You wanted me to stay away from danger. I told you I don't listen well. She was already crawling into the tunnel. Besides, you can't stop me now. Tam, wait here and signal if guards come. She heard Kale's frustrated growl and then the splash of him following. The tunnel was a nightmare of tight spaces and foul water, but Lyra found herself moving with strange confidence, as if she could sense the path ahead. They emerged in what felt like a storage chamber. The golden sight flickered on, showing her crates and barrels, then faded again. 2 guards outside the door, she whispered, somehow knowing. Before Kale could stop her, Lyra pushed open the door and stumbled into the corridor, playing up her blindness. Help, she gasped. Please, I'm lost. There's been an attack on the road. The guards rushed toward her, and she felt rather than saw Kale strike from behind, swift, silent, lethal. They dropped without a sound. That was reckless, he growled, but she heard pride beneath the anger. They descended into the bowels of the fortress, following something Lyra couldn't name, a pull toward other shapeshifters, like calling to like. The smell hit her first. Blood, waste, despair, and beneath it all, the wild scent of caged wolves. Alpha? A female voice, weak but fierce. Alpha? Is that you? Rena. Kyle was at the cell door instantly, tearing it from its hinges with desperate strength. The golden sight flared to life, showing Lyra 6 shapeshifters in various states of injury and starvation. Rena, a tall woman with silver-streaked dark hair, stared at Kale with joy that quickly turned to confusion. Behind her, the others struggled to their feet. Marsh, broad and scarred. Eric, lean and quick-looking despite his wounds. Senna with her sharp, intelligent eyes. Tom, the youngest. And Alara, whose bearing suggested a healer's patience. Alpha, you're mated. It wasn't a question. I can smell it on you. But her gaze found Lyra. To her? A blind human Omega question mark. She's the moon-touched, Kale said firmly. She saved my life. The moon-touched is a myth, Eric said weakly. The prophecy is real, Alara spoke up suddenly, her healer's eyes studying Lyra with awe. Look at her carefully. There's light under her skin, power waiting to emerge. Show them, Lyra, Kale said. I can't just... It doesn't work like that. Footsteps echoed above. Many footsteps. They know we're here, came Tam's urgent voice from the tunnel. He'd followed them in despite instructions to wait. Show them, Kale repeated. Trust yourself. Trust the bond. Trust us. The golden sight was flickering rapidly now, almost painfully. But Kale's faith in her was absolute, flowing through their bond like warmth. She thought of how the light had erupted before, when Kale was threatened. These were his pack, his family. They were threatened now. Light exploded from her, not harsh but gentle, like moonbeams given substance. Her sight returned fully, true vision for the first time since childhood. She saw the 6 prisoners staring at her in awe, their wounds beginning to close in the light. Saw Tam's proud smile, saw Kyle looking at her with such fierce love it took her breath away. By Luna's grace, Rena whispered, she's real. The prophecy is real. But more than healing them, Lyra's light showed her the soldiers flooding down the stairs, their positions, their weaknesses, their fears. The light seemed to confuse them, making them see phantoms, attack shadows. Follow me, she commanded, and even proud Rena obeyed without question. Lyra led them through the fortress not like a blind girl feeling her way, but like she'd walked these halls 1,000 times. Her light turned corners before they did, showed them which passages to take, which to avoid. When soldiers appeared, the light became something else, a weapon that sent them reeling, clutching their heads. They burst from the fortress into the storm, but pursuit was already mounting. Horses, hounds, hunters with wolfsbane-laced weapons. We won't make it to the tree line, Marsh gasped, too weak from imprisonment to shift. Then we make our stand here, Kale snarled. No. Lyra turned to face the storm, raised her hands to the black sky, and pulled on something deep within, not just her power, but the power Kale had shared with her through their bond. The clouds parted. The moon, not full, not blood, just the ordinary moon, shone through. But in Lyra's hands, its light became extraordinary. Silver radiance poured down, concentrating around her, then spreading to encompass all the shapeshifters. In that moonlight, the shapeshifters' wounds closed completely. Their exhaustion fled. Even those too weak to shift suddenly found themselves changing, becoming massive wolves with ease. Run, Lyra commanded. They ran through the storm, faster than horses, faster than arrows, faster than anything human. The fortress fell behind them, the pursuit lost in darkness and rain. But as they reached the safety of the forest, Lyra collapsed. The light died, the golden sight vanished, and she was simply a blind, exhausted Omega who had somehow channeled power meant for gods. She's dying, Rena said, all skepticism gone from her voice. The power, it's too much for her body. Her Omega nature can't process this level of energy. She's not dying. Kale's voice was fierce as he gathered her into his arms. I won't let her. Alpha, Alara said gently. The transformation is beginning but incomplete. Her body can't decide what it wants to be, human, wolf, or something else entirely. Without intervention, she won't survive. Lyra drifted in and out of consciousness for days, aware only of pain that came in waves, sometimes burning, sometimes freezing, always overwhelming. She existed in a space between dreams and waking, where voices floated to her across vast distances. Her temperature spikes every few hours, Alara's voice, clinical but concerned, then drops so low we can barely find a pulse. It's the transformation, another voice responded, Mira, the pack's elder healer who'd been summoned. Her body is trying to become what the mark demands, but her human side fights it. She won't die. That was Kale. Always Kale, his presence the one constant in her fevered existence. She's stronger than you know. On the 4th night in Moonhaven, Kale's stronghold in the Northern Territories, Lyra woke with something approaching clarity. The golden sight flickered weakly, showing her a grand chamber with high windows that looked out onto mountain peaks. She was in an enormous bed covered in soft furs, and Kale sat beside her, looking haggard. The pack members she'd freed were stationed around the room like guards. She could sense each of them, their concern a tangible weight. "You're awake." He was beside her instantly, his hand cool against her burning forehead. "Truly awake this time." "This time?" "You've woken before, but—" He hesitated. "You didn't recognize anyone. You spoke in the old tongue, languages you shouldn't know. Once you spoke what sounded like prophecy." "What did I say?" "When moon and wolf unite in blood, when blind eyes see the ancient truth, then shall the divided become whole." He looked haunted. "Mira says it's from the original prophecy, words that have been lost for centuries." "What's happening to me?" "Your body is trying to change, to become fully wolf. The mark activated dormant shifter blood, but your human side, your omega nature, fights the transformation." He looked devastated. "I did this to you." "Stop." Her hand found his. "Tell me about the curse, the Fenris. You mentioned it before." He was quiet for a long moment, and she sensed the pack members exchanging glances. "It's been in my bloodline for 300 years. A witch cursed my ancestor for betraying his mate. Under the blood moon, we don't just shift to wolves. We become the Fenris, a monster that exists only to destroy. No recognition, no control, only rage and hunger." "Has it happened to you?" "Once, when I was 17. I killed 12 men. Enemies, yes, but also 2 of our own who tried to stop me." His voice was hollow. "I swore never to let it happen again. It's why I went south, searching for a cure. That's how they caught me." "You were looking for a way to break the curse?" "I'd heard rumors of a ritual, ancient magic that could break bloodline curses." He laughed bitterly. "Instead, I found myself poisoned and chained. And then I found you. And then you found me." His thumb traced circles on her hand. "My salvation and my potential damnation, because the blood moon rises tomorrow night." Before Lyra could respond, Tam burst through the door. "Lyra! You're properly awake." He threw himself at her, and she held him despite the pain it caused. "There's more," Rena said from her position by the window. "The Empire's army has crossed our borders. 1,000 soldiers armed with wolfsbane weapons. They're demanding we return the moon touched." "Let them demand," Kyle snarled. "They have prisoners," Senna added quietly. 20 people from Valdris who helped you escape, including the herb seller Mrs. Chen. They'll execute them at dawn unless Lyra surrenders herself." Lyra tried to sit up, ignoring the wave of dizziness. "Then I have to—" "You have to nothing," Kale said firmly. "You can barely stand." "Mrs. Chen risked everything to help us. She knew what we were and helped anyway." "There might be another way," old Mira said slowly. "The blood moon tomorrow. It's the strongest lunar event. If we perform the transformation ritual, then—" "She could complete the change," Alara finished, "or die trying. The odds are perhaps 1 in 10. "Better than dying slowly," Lyra said. "There's something else," Marsh spoke up. "Other packs are coming. Some to see if the moon touched is real, others to challenge her claim if she is." Over the next hours, despite her weakness, Lyra found herself holding informal court. Pack leaders arrived, some curious, others skeptical. "Prove it," demanded Alpha Roderick of the southern packs. "Anyone can claim to be prophesied." Lyra stood on shaking legs. The golden sight was barely a flicker now, but she reached for it anyway, pulling on the bond with Kale for strength. Light erupted from her, not the brilliant display of before, but gentle moonlight that filled the room with peace. Every shifter present felt their wolf respond, felt the constant struggle between their 2 natures quiet. "The prophecy," someone whispered, "she who brings peace to the divided." But the display cost her. Lyra collapsed, and Kale caught her before she hit the floor. "The ritual," he said to Mira, Tonight, before the blood moon fully rises, the sun hung low on the horizon as they prepared for battle, not the ritual that would come after, if they survived. The Empire's army had moved faster than expected, and now they stood at the gates of Moonhaven, demanding surrender. Lyra stood beside Cale at the fortress walls, held upright mostly by his arm around her waist. Through her flickering golden sight, she could see the vast army spread below, 1,000 soldiers, siege weapons, and at their head, Lord Commander Theron himself. "Release the Moon-Touched," Theron's voice carried on the wind. "She belongs to the Empire." "I belong to no one," Lyra called back, her voice stronger than her body. "Then you condemn these innocents." They brought forward the prisoners, 20 souls from Valdris, including Mrs. Chen, who stood proud despite her chains. "Single combat," Lyra proposed before anyone could stop her. "Your champion against ours. Winner takes all. The prisoners. Me. Everything." "Accepted," Theron called back. "Sunset, don't try to run." As they prepared, Cale pulled her aside. "You know what happens at sunset. The blood moon rises. If I'm still fighting when it crests, then I'll bring you back." She touched his face. "Like I did from the poison. Trust me." An hour later, they stood at the combat circle's edge. The Empire's champion was Marcus the Wolf Slayer, a mountain of a man wearing armor made from wolf pelts, his blade coated in wolfsbane. Cale entered the circle as the sun touched the horizon. Marcus attacked immediately, brutal, efficient without honor. They fought as humans at first, but Lyra could feel Cale's control fragmenting as the sky darkened. Marcus landed a blow across Cale's ribs. The Alpha King stumbled. Then the blood moon crested the horizon, painting everything crimson. Cale's scream became something else, a sound that shouldn't exist. His transformation was violent, wrong. What rose wasn't a wolf but the Fenris, massive, terrible, mindless. Marcus died in seconds, but the Fenris turned toward everyone else, pure destruction without recognition. "Run," Rena commanded the pack. "No." Lyra stepped forward, into the circle. She let the change she'd been fighting finally take hold. Bones shattered and reformed. When it was over, a pure white wolf stood where she'd been, eyes golden with moon magic. The Fenris froze. Lyra approached slowly, then lunged up and bit its neck. Not to harm, but to claim, to remind. "Mine," her wolf declared. "My mate. Mine." The Fenris howled, recognition breaking through rage. It shrank back to Cale's form, and he collapsed. "You brought me back," he gasped as she transformed back. "The Fenris curse. You broke through it." Around them, the pack howled in victory. Their Luna had tamed the untamable. "Impossible!" Theron sputtered. "Leave," Lyra commanded, moonlight gathering around her. "Tell your emperor the age of hunting is over." The army fled, but as they did, Lyra collapsed. The forced transformation was killing her. Lyra floated in a space between life and death, neither world quite claiming her. Before her stood a figure of pure moonlight, beautiful and terrible, ancient beyond measure. "My daughter," the figure said. "You have done well." "Who are you?" "I am Luna, the first mother of all shifters. You are my chosen, born to heal the rift between my children and humanity." The goddess gestured to the space around them, where Lyra could see threads of light connecting every living thing. "You see the bonds now, don't you? How everything is connected? I'm dying. You're transforming. The final transformation, but you must choose." Luna extended 2 hands, in one, a simple silver ring, in the other, a crown of moonlight. "Return to mortality with your mate, lose the greater power but live a normal life, or become my avatar, eternal and powerful, but forever changed." "What about Cale?" My pack? As my avatar, you would be immortal while they age. Unless. Luna smiled. Unless they choose to bind themselves to you completely. Your mate could share your immortality through the completed bond. Your pack could become something new, not immortal, but longer lived, stronger, truly united. In the mortal realm, Kale held Lyra's convulsing body as the pack gathered around them. Her skin was translucent now, moonlight flowing beneath like blood. The freed pack members formed an inner circle: Rena, Marsh, Eric, Senna, Tom, and Alara, while the visiting alphas watched from beyond. There must be something, Kale pleaded. The eternal bond, Rena said suddenly. Alpha? It would change you forever. Tell me, you would tie your life force to hers completely, become what she becomes. And Rena looked at the other pack members. We could anchor her. All of us. Share the burden of her transformation. That's never been done, Mira protested. Then we'll be the first, Marsh said firmly. She saved us. She brought us home, Eric added. She is our Luna, Senna said simply. Even young Tom nodded. We stand with her. Alara, the healer, began preparing. We'll need all the alphas to participate. This much power requires many anchors. Kale looked at the assembled alphas. She saved us all. Will you stand with her? One by one they agreed, even proud Roderick. They formed concentric circles, the freed pack members closest, then Kale, then the other alphas. They began chanting in the old tongue, words that hadn't been spoken in centuries. In the space between, Lyra felt their pull. They're offering to share your burden, Luna said, clearly surprised. This has never happened before. The choice changes now. Solitary power or shared strength. That's no choice at all. Lyra reached for the crown. But I won't hold it alone. Power exploded through every dimension. Kale gasped as Moonfire raced through the bond, transforming him. His eyes became silver, his hair touched with white. The Fenris curse burned away completely, replaced by something greater. Not a monster, but an eternal guardian. The pack members felt it too. Rena's already silver-streaked hair became fully silver, but her face grew younger. Marsh's scars faded. Eric moved with new fluid grace. Senna's intelligence sharpened to near prescience. Young Tom aged slightly but gained wisdom beyond his years. Alara's healing powers magnified tenfold. The other alphas remained mortal but felt the change. Stronger, more united. Their packs would live longer, healthier lives. Lyra opened eyes that were no longer blind, no longer merely sighted but all-seeing. She could perceive every thread connecting every living thing touched by moonlight. She saw the prisoners below, saw Mrs. Chen smiling with tears of joy as their chains crumbled to dust in the moonlight. Kale, I'm here. He was transformed but still himself, her perfect match in power and purpose. You bound yourself to me. As you first refused to stay away. He kissed her, and moonlight danced around them. My eternal Luna. They stood together, and everyone knelt, not in submission, but in recognition. The Empire will return, Roderick said, but without fear. Let them. Lyra raised her hand, and moonlight became solid, forming a protective barrier. But first, we offer peace. Days later, messengers arrived. The Emperor himself had sent negotiators, led by a young woman named Serena. Your display of power has changed everything, Serena said. There are those in the Empire who've always opposed the persecution. The Emperor offers a treaty. Coexistence, trade, integration. And Mrs. Chen? Lyra asked. The others who helped us? Heroes of the new peace. Serena smiled. Mrs. Chen has been appointed as cultural liaison. She asked me to give you this. She handed over a small bundle of herbs. She says your grandmother would be proud. Tam, who'd been changed by proximity to such power, not a shifter, but something new, a bridge between worlds, translated as wolves, and humans began to truly talk for the first time in centuries. As the next blood moon rose, instead of becoming the Fenris, Kale stood beside his Luna at the first peaceful gathering of all packs in history. The freed pack members stood with them, Rena as the eternal beta, Marsh as the guardian of borders, Eric as the scout between worlds, Senna as the keeper of prophecies, Thomas the young voice of change, and Alara as the healer of both body and division. You know what amazes me most? Lyra asked Kale as they watched their united people, human and shifter, celebrate below. What's that, my moon? You told me to stay away. She smiled, her eyes seeing everything yet looking only at him. 3 times, you warned me. He laughed, pulling her close, and 3 times, you didn't listen. I never do. Thank Luna for that. As the blood moon blessed the gathering, Lyra thought of how it had all begun, a blind Omega spending her last coins on a dying slave. Now she was the eternal moon-touched, guardian of peace, bridge between worlds. But more importantly, she was Kale's mate, and he was hers. The Omega had claimed her Alpha. The Alpha had claimed his Omega. And in that claiming, they'd claimed a future where no one would ever have to hide what they were again. The prophecy was fulfilled, but their story, the story of the blind Omega who wouldn't stay away, and the Alpha King who couldn't help but love her, was just beginning.